Hi, this is your host, Daniel Gutierrez, with Awakening to Abundance. I'd like to welcome you to our call with today's guest, Noah St. John. Noah St. John is known as the Accelerated Results Guy and the inventor of affirmations and best-selling author of Permission to Succeed and The Secret Code of Success. He's the world's most quoted expert on how to dump your head trash. Noah has appeared in more than 3,000 media outlets, including CNN, ABC, NBC, CBS, The Washington Post, Selling Power, and Parade Magazine. With no formal education in business and a vision to empower millions of people worldwide, he launched NoahSt.John.com in 1997. Noah's mission is to teach entrepreneurs around the world how to get unstuck. Today you will discover one simple question to accelerate your results almost instantly, what you should never do if you really want to live abundantly, the three biggest mistakes that stop 97% of home-based entrepreneurs from being financially free, and how to get paid more for doing what you love. Over the next 60 minutes, you will learn exactly how to get unstuck and reach your destiny faster in just 5 minutes a day, and how to turn negative beliefs about money into positive results. Noah, thank you for joining us today, and welcome to the call.
You bet, Daniel. Great to be here. Thanks.
All right. Well, see, Noah, would you take 2 to 3 minutes and just share what you believe to be the major turning points that allowed you to manifest your current level of success?
A few years ago, I found myself in a situation, Daniel, that was pretty uncomfortable. I was $35,000 in debt. I was working out of my parents' basement. And the lowest point happened when I was at a bookstore, and I wanted to buy a particular book. And I looked in my wallet, and I realized I did not have enough money to buy a book that I wanted. So, the book is about $20 or something. So you figure this is pretty bad. So
pretty bad.
That was like, wow, okay, this is really not good. And so I really made a decision at that moment. It was like one of those moments, where you go, wow, I mean, something has to change. I've got to change if I want to have better results. I think we've all had, certain moments like that in our lives, and that was one, certainly for me. Anyway, long story short, 24 months later, I had because I was able to do, the things that actually I'll be sharing with you today in the interview. Within 24 months, I had a 6-figure book deal from one of the world's largest publishers. I had testimonials from many of the world's top thought leaders like Stephen Covey, Harvey Mackay, Jack Canfield, Joe Vitale, John Gray, Harv Eker, Neil Donald Walsh, and many, many others. I became a best-selling author, and I started speaking in places like Las Vegas, Palm Springs, Australia, Florida, to audiences of 1,000 people and more. I was able to pay cash for a Caribbean honeymoon that I went on with my beautiful wife. And, I was swimming with dolphins and sea turtles. It was literally, just an amazing trip. I was able to pay cash for that. And really, the bottom line is that I was able to design the lifestyle that I had always dreamed of. So all of that happened within 24 months, because of applying these principles.
That is amazing. Boy, and I surely have been in a place in my life, Noah, where I looked in the wallet and said, goodness gracious, really? Is that it? and let me tell you, it was trying to get out of a parking lot, so it was not a good thing.
Oh, wow, that's bad. Yeah, that's a tricky one.
Well, I'm really excited about our call, Noah. So let's just jump right in. Why do so many people hold themselves back from the success that they're capable of?
Well, that really is the $11 billion question, Daniel, and I say that number because that is the amount of money that the American people, just in the United States, spend every year on self-help programs.
Wow.
Everybody really, isn't it amazing? And, it sounds like a big number, and it is a big number, but, rather than talking about statistics, just for everyone listening, what I'd encourage you to do is this. Just think about how much money you've spent over the last few years on personal growth, on money making, online programs, books, seminars, DVDs, what have you. And, think about that. Just to give you an example, I was talking with one of my clients recently. His name's Jim. He had spent over $150,000 on all these different programs, software, just everything. The problem is not spending the money. That's not the issue. The problem is he hadn't made any money. So it's not, I don't have anything against programs. What I have a problem with, and what I help people to overcome is what I call shelf help. People have a lot of shelf help. And what that means is, you spend $150,000 or however many thousands it is, 30,000, 25,000, whatever the number is. But what did it do? Now you just have a pretty-looking shelf that is really expensive that didn't make you any money. So that is what happens. And to give you another example, I've had the opportunity to interview 50 millionaires. I mean, we're talking 7, 8, and 9-figure earners, very successful people. And I asked them all one question in the interview. So I asked them all, many questions. But in the interview, I asked them one question, which was, what is your number one frustration about the clients that you work with? And you know what? They all said the exact same thing. Nobody does what I tell them to do. Isn't that amazing? So here they are, here are these highly successful people, and they're, giving, we're talking, gurus and thought leaders, and yet people just, they spend all this money and they're not doing it. So basically why this happens, and so just to take you back to, my story, that was the issue for me. I realized I was spending all this money and investing all this time and effort and sweat and everything like that, but yet I wasn't seeing the results. And it was very frustrating for me because I'm one of these nerds. I'm just a geek at heart, and I don't like things that are inefficient. I like efficiency. I mean, if I give you, or if I invest, $100 in something, I want to get 1,000 back, or more, because I'm like, come on, why else would you do it? But what I realized is that there's a lot of people who they don't think that way. They don't seem to think that way. I think they think that just by buying the program, it's going to magically, give them more money or happiness, and it just never works. It doesn't work that way. And unfortunately, there's a lot of teachings out there that basically say, well, they don't basically, they specifically say, do what you love and the money will follow. Really? Are you serious? Okay, let me give you an example. I love going to the library. Is anybody going to pay me for that? I mean, if you want to send checks, I'll give you my address. I mean, please, you can pay me for – but you see how ridiculous that is?
That is one of my most hated quotes. I mean, really? I agree with you. Really?
Insane. I mean, I like sleeping. I like taking a nap. Come on, people. I mean, this is insane. But see, that's that thing out there, Daniel, and I know you know this because, you work in this industry as well.
Right.
So, that's really been, for the last 20 years, 25 years of my life, I've been, really one of the people leading the charge of saying, hey, listen, we've got to wake up. You can't buy a program, put it on your shelf, or put it under your pillow, and then money appears in your bank account. It just doesn't happen.
I love that.
You've got to do the work. You've got to do the work. You've got to work. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be quote unquote hard work. There's a difference between what I call hard work and proper work. I just prefer the term proper work because Thomas Jefferson said, I am a firm believer in hard work. I'm sorry, he said, I'm a firm believer in luck, and I find that the harder I work, the luckier I get. So, you see, but my thing is, TJ was probably meaning proper work. He was a pretty efficient kind of a guy too. So that's what I enjoy teaching. Wow.
Well, Noah, why do you think that success comes naturally for some and then some just struggle? I mean, it seems to be something that someone's always looking through the window going, how do they do it? And one of it's hard work, I would assume.
Well, but see, there again, that's so. I'm so glad you brought that up because I grew up, just to take you back a little further, where I grew up in my family of origin was, I grew up very lower middle class. We would probably say poor and broke, which is not the same thing. We were poor and broke, which is no fun. But the funny thing is, or the irony was, that we lived in a very wealthy neighborhood. So where I grew up was actually a wealthy neighborhood, but my family was broke. They were lower middle class. I remember my brother and I and my dad, because they built the house. My parents and just basically had some friends over, and I remember one of the things we did was we would go around the neighborhood and collect rocks. so that we could build our fireplace. So I mean, that's how poor we were. We just, we had to collect rocks from the street or wherever it was, the forest. Anyway, my point is that I realized that my parents just didn't have any money. My family would never have money, and it was really putting a lot of strain and stress on the family. But the funny part about that was that my father worked really, really hard. I mean, he was always working 80, 90, 100 hours a week, and we just, we didn't see him. And yet there was, there was no food. There was, it was cold. The floors weren't done. We just didn't have money. And so it was like, wow, I got it from a young age that hard work in that sense doesn't make it work, doesn't equal success necessarily. Also, people look at time. Oh, you just haven't been doing it long enough. Time is totally irrelevant. Time is nothing. You could be working at something for 30 years and never succeed, and conversely, you could be working at something for 1 or 2 years and be very successful. So that's not it. So we have to eliminate all the things that it isn't. So what I realized, Daniel, over this period of study, because I just started going to the library and reading every book that I could on success and personal growth, because I did not want to be poor. I didn't want to have no money. I wanted to make something of my life. And so all I had, I didn't have any money, so I had to just go to the library. Well, after a while, I realized that there are a small percentage of people who are not holding themselves back from success. Now, what I mean by that is there are 4 levels of competency, and many people are probably familiar with this, but in case this is new to you, what there are is 4 levels of competency. The first level is called unconscious incompetence. That means you don't know that you don't know. The second level is called conscious incompetence. That means you know you don't know. Then the third level is conscious competence. That means you know, but you still have to work at it. And then the fourth level is unconscious competence. That means you don't think about it anymore. So think about it like this, like learning a language, right? If, when we were little kids, we all had to learn to speak. Mm-hmm. Well, obviously, when you're little, you can't speak. You're unconsciously incompetent. You don't even know what language is or anything like that. You don't have enough brain cells, et cetera. Then over time you learn and, you become consciously incompetent. It means, you use the wrong words here and there, et cetera. Then you become good at it, and you learn a language, and then, of course, now we're all pretty conversant, and you talk, you communicate without really thinking about it consciously. Words just sort of flow out of your mouth. Well, it's the same in many areas of life, but what I realized is it really is the same in success. So I realized that there are a small percentage, a very small percentage, I call them the 3%ers, because about 3% of the human population is what I call unconsciously competent at allowing themselves to succeed. In other words, they wouldn't do this thing called self-help that most people are doing. It wouldn't occur to them to buy a program and not use it. They would say, like, well, why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense. Why would you hold yourself back from success? Why would you not succeed? Meanwhile, most of the human population is sitting there going, yeah, that's easy for you to say because I'm stuck. So that's what happened, and that has been really my study now, and what I've been teaching people. As you mentioned, and I started my company, Success Clinic International, in 1997. I've been online since 1997. I'm actually older than Google, which is cool. So, but my point is that I've had now the opportunity to share these insights and these teaching, these strategies with over 200,000 people in over 50 countries. And, we just get thousands and thousands of letters and emails and messages and people writing on Facebook and saying, thank you for this teaching. It changed my life. I started making more money. I lost weight. I found the love of my life. There's just some incredible stories once people start to do these strategies.
Well, I'm really excited about this next word, and affirmation. How are they different from traditional affirmations? Now, folks, I'm saying affor with an O instead of affer with an I. Tell us about them. I'm excited about learning about them.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go back to the beginning. Okay, because in order to teach you this, we have to go back a little bit. All right. So first of all, have you ever noticed that your best ideas come in the shower? Have you ever noticed that? You just get great ideas in the shower. Isn't that funny? You know, you just have that. You have that thing that you've been thinking about, and you know, that problem that's been weighing you down, and you're just, you know, and you're like grinding away, and all of a sudden you're in the shower, and it's like, and the light, oh, that's it, eureka, right? It's just that eureka moment that I call it the shower fairy comes in, you know, and so this is the story of a shower that changed my life and changed actually hundreds of thousands of lives. Now I know that might sound funny, but just stay with me. So this was April 1997. Now I was a college student at that time, and I was majoring in religious studies. So I noticed at the time that I was living in a dorm room. I was 30 years old, and I was divorced, living in this little dorm room that was so big that if you put your arms out to both sides, you could touch the walls on either side. That's how big the room was. So you know, of course, as a college student, I was still broke. I didn't have any money, and I was divorced, and I was like, wow, you know, this is really weird, because I had been studying these self-help books and personal growth books for how many years, and here I am, I'm in this little dorm room, I have no money, I'm divorced, you know, this is really pretty lousy. And I said, after all this study, this is all I have to show for it. It was very depressing. And I noticed one thing that night when I, you know, was just sort of looking around my little dorm room, and I realized that I had these signs all over my little dorm room that said affirmations. And, of course, we all know what an affirmation is. An affirmation is a statement of something that you want to be true. Now, by the way, how do we know what an affirmation is? How come everybody knows what these are? Well, because every book in traditional success literature has talked about affirmations, right? Every single book. How many books have you read, or teachings, or programs, or DVDs, or seminars where they taught you to use affirmations, right? So this is just, it's a given. It's an assumption. It's just like the world is flat, right? Because you walk outside your home and you can see the world's flat. What's your problem? Duh, of course it's flat. You know, of course. Look, the sun goes around the earth. What are you, stupid? Look up in the sky. I mean, right? You see, now these are assumptions that were what, tens of thousands of years of humankind, right? Humans believe all these things because, well, duh. Look around. What are you, dumb? And then some guy comes along. You know that? No, actually, we looked at the data, and it actually shows that the Earth goes around. Throw him in jail. He's wrong. Get rid of that guy. You see my point? So, see, it's amazing, isn't it? We humans have so many assumptions that we just don't even question them, oftentimes. Well, and so this is one of the major assumptions in traditional success literature, the use of affirmations, these statements. Now, so I noticed that I was using these statements, and I had them all over my dorm room. I'm rich. I'm happy. I am wealthy. I am whatever. And I looked at them, and I said, wow, I don't believe any of those. And look at my life. My life sucks. So what's the problem here? Now, naturally, what most people do is just what I did, which is you think the problem is yourself. You think you're the problem. Well, I must just be dumb. I must be a loser. I must be stupid. I mean, because, look, all these guys who wrote these books told me to use this thing. I've been using the thing. I did exactly what they told me to do, and I didn't get the result. So I must be a loser, right? I mean, and just this is, you know, what I was saying to myself, of course, and now since I've been working with people, so many people around the world, this is the story they tell me. They tell me the same story. So, you know, this is resonant for so many people around the world because of these assumptions. So I went to bed that night. I was pretty depressed. I was like, brother, I mean, I must be just dumb. You know, I guess I'll never make it. I guess I'll never succeed. So I got up the next morning, and I got into the shower. Now, I was thinking about all this. So it was weighing on my mind, you know. I was just frustrated and thinking. And so I started thinking about this very point, about affirmation, about the human mind, about human thought. because I realized, well, that's really what we're talking about, isn't it? We're talking about human thought. And then I started to think, well, what is human thought? And then I realized that human thought really is the process of asking and searching for answers to questions, not statements. So let me give you an example of this. Why is the sky blue? Why is the sky blue? Right. Now notice, everybody who's listening, and Daniel, you just did this, and everybody listening to the sound of my voice right now. Now, what just happened in your brain in that little moment when I asked you a question? What just happened in your brain? What happened is,
for an answer.
Exactly. You started to search for the answer. Now, notice, this happened automatically, didn't it, Daniel?
Mm-hmm.
It literally,
automatically.
You couldn't even help it. In fact, as I say, you couldn't not do it. So I said, wait a second. If the human mind is automatically searching for answers to questions, doesn't that mean that human thought really is the process of searching for answers to questions? And if that's true, then why are we going around making statements that we don't even believe? Meaning affirmations. Why are we doing this? And I realized we're doing it because we've been told to do it for 150 years. And then I said, but does that mean it's true? So in that moment, I realized, wait a second, just because we're told to do something doesn't make it always true. We were told the earth was flat. The sun goes around the earth. You know, I mean, how many other assumptions? If you sail off too far, you'll fall off the end of the world. I mean, there's a million assumptions that humankind, you know, the moon's made of cheese. I mean, all these crazy things that aren't true. So I realized as soon as I asked that question that everything was about to change. So what I realized is, wait a second, what if there were a better way? What if instead of fighting the brain, we started using the brain, right? Mm-hmm. What if we started using the brain's actual software instead of using software that isn't there? All right. So is this making sense so far, Daniel? You with me?
You bet. You bet.
Okay, awesome. All right, so now I want to pull back the camera a little bit and talk about these things called affirmations. All right, because remember, we've been told to do this for literally 150 years, maybe longer. Let's just say 150 years, maybe thousands of years. Who knows? Okay, so most people listening to this program, and people who buy, spend all these billions of dollars, but personally they spend maybe tens of thousands of dollars, right? So think about it. What do they really want? What do we all really want? We all really want to change our lives. That's really what we want. We want something new. We want something better. We want things like more money, more time off, more control over our lives. We want a better career. We want maybe to lose weight or get in shape. We want to sleep better. We want to lower our stress. We want better relationships, etc., right? Those are all things that we humans want. Okay? That's why we buy all these things. That's why we read personal growth books or go to seminars or buy DVDs, etc. Okay, so what we've been told to do in this and almost everything is use these things called affirmations. Now, again, traditional success teachers told us this because they said, listen, if you want to change your life, you have to change your thoughts, don't you? Mm-hmm. Right? Because we know now, I think most people are aware of the fact that your thoughts create your life. Your beliefs create your life. So if you want a different life, you have to think different thoughts. Just makes sense so far, right? So we're all good. Okay, good. All right, so then they said, well, listen, if you want to, let's just say make more money, because 78% of the people who come to me, to our website, noahstjohn.com, they say, I want to make more money. Okay? So let's just say that. All right? So in order to make more money, what do you have to do? You have to change your thoughts about money. So maybe you go back to childhood and you say, well, I had a belief that says I don't have enough money, so I got to change that belief. So what's the way to change the belief? You just say a new belief. So if your belief is, I don't have much money, or I don't have enough money, or I'm broke, you change the thought, right? And you say things, you say the statement, instead of I am broke, you say I am rich, right? So here, let's try it, everybody. All right, everybody listening to me, I want you to say it right now, I am rich. I am rich. Now, when you say I am rich, what does your brain say? What do you hear in the next moment when you say I am rich? What do you say? What do you hear?
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Hello. I mean, now, so here we are. We're following the steps, right? We're literally following the directions. We're doing everything they told us, and we're getting this response that basically is completely mitigating the very thing we're supposed to do. It's literally telling us you're lying to me, and this is you lying to yourself. Now, what did they say? Okay, so they said, well, okay, now, so the traditional success teacher said, well, listen, okay, because they've heard this argument before, right? Well, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. I'm saying these positive things. I don't believe it. Okay, so what do they tell us to do? Do it more.
Do it again, yeah.
Just do it more. You're not doing it enough, or you're not doing it right. Just do it. What do you mean doing it right? You told me to do one simple thing. What is there to be right about? Say the statement. Okay, well, how can you be, right? So now just think about the logic here for a second. How logical is it to say, okay, that didn't work, so keep doing it? If you want to lose weight, all you have to do is eat more sugary foods. That's it. Wait a minute, I'm gaining weight. Well, but just do it more and you'll lose weight. Do you see how ridiculous this sounds? This is insane. We would never do this in any other area of our lives, would we? Well, if you want to have better relationships, just start yelling at people. Start putting them down. See, this is insane. Okay, but yet we've all bought this. We've all bought into this because it's the assumption. The world is flat. The sun goes around the earth. Oh, okay. No, it doesn't. Okay, so what happens, and see, I know I get really excited and passionate because I have this mission to change the world and teach the world about this new teaching, this new awareness, this new technology of the mind. So what I realized in the shower all those years ago was that very simply using the old method was not going to give us the results that we wanted. Not because we're stupid, not because we're not trying hard enough, not because we're not motivated enough or not intelligent enough. It's none of those things. It's just the fact that we were given the wrong tool. We were literally just given the wrong tool. Remember, going back to my original point, the point is we want to change our lives. That's all we wanted. I just wanted more money, more happiness, better relationships, etc. So remember, we got to remember why we're doing this in the first place. So for most people, Daniel, they're just not getting the result that they want. They were using a tool that they were told. They're doing it everything that they were told to do. And yet it's exactly like if someone came to you and said, well, I want to put this nail into a wall, and then you hand them a chainsaw. It's just like it's the wrong tool. So it's never going to work. So what I realized is that what we have are problems. We have problems. Everybody has problem, and we tend to want to avoid that word. But if you don't like the word problem, you can say challenge, opportunity, pain, frustration, block, bottleneck, roadblock, barrier. I mean, these are the things that we all have. Now, I don't care, and I mean, let's just be really clear here. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're Bill Gates, Donald Trump, how much money you have. Do you really think Bill Gates doesn't have any problems?
Yeah.
Do you really think Donald Trump doesn't have any problems? Now, granted, they're uptown problems. Yes, they're rich people problems. They're not the same problem as I can't pay my mortgage. I mean, that's a problem, right? So they don't have those survival. Again, I kind of say uptown problems versus real problems. Those aren't, but they're serious. Now, Bill Gates, for example, he wants to solve malaria. He wants to cure malaria, wipe malaria from the face of the earth. That's pretty awesome, right? I mean, that's a cool problem to have, isn't it? Say, how do we wipe out malaria from the face of the earth? But notice what that is. That's a question. That's a question. What about, paying your mortgage, right? There's a lot of people underwater right now at their homes. So the question is, how am I going to pay my mortgage this month and eat? That's a huge problem, right? What about a weight problem? How can I lose weight? How can I stay in shape? Money problems. How can I make more money? Business problems. What will it take to grow my business? So you see, my point is every problem, I don't care what it is really a question that hasn't been answered yet. That's what every problem you're facing really is. A problem is a question that you haven't answered yet. So the point is, let's go back to the affirmations. Let's go back to the statement, right? The statement is supposed to change your beliefs about money because you want more money. I'm just using money as an example. Okay? So the statement that you're supposed to say is, I am rich. And your brain says, yeah, right. Now, listen, if affirmations work for you, that's great. I mean, by all means, keep using them. But if, however, you're like the 99% of the people, and the hundreds of thousands of people that have come to me and, I've talked to and worked with over the years, if you're not satisfied with the results from your affirmations, then my suggestion is that you use something at the same time that's more powerful, more effective, but also so much simpler. And that is, rather than making a statement you don't believe, why not ask a question that will change your life? So let me give you an example of how this works. So I have, I've had the opportunity, as I mentioned, earlier, to interview over 50 millionaires and multimillionaires. I've worked with CEOs, business people, stay-at-home moms, home-based entrepreneurs, and little kids, 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 13-year-olds, teenagers, etc. So I got a phone call one day from one of my clients. Her name was Mary, and she was so excited because she told me that she had a 13-year-old, her daughter named Stephanie, and Stephanie had a problem, which was that she couldn't sleep. Every night she would go to sleep and, or she'd go to bed, and she just couldn't sleep. She'd be worrying, her mind would be racing, and she had insomnia, and every night she just couldn't sleep. And they tried everything. They've tried different, CDs and hypnosis and whatever, and nothing was working. And then they started using this method, which I'll share with you. And that same night, the very same night that they taught her this method, she fell asleep. She slept like a baby, and she's never had a sleeping problem since. So, I mean, it's not always about just making millions of dollars. There's something just as simple as that. So what I discovered, Daniel, was this process that I named afformations. Not affirmations, but afformations. And that's the program that actually, we have to offer you today. And because, Daniel, you're a very persuasive person, you got me to give a really great deal on it. You really twisted my arm here. And, I mean, this is an amazing program we put together for you. But my point is that what I discovered is a process that I call afformations. Now, afformations is spelled AFFORMATIONS. Afformations, not affirmations, but afformations. Now, afformations are empowering questions that immediately change the subconscious thought patterns in your brain and change your assumptions. So let me explain what I mean by that. See, every human being right now is making assumptions. We all assume. I've talked about several of them already. The earth is flat, the sun goes around the earth, etc. Right? But what else do we assume in our lives? Well, most people have very disempowering assumptions. I can never be rich. I can never make a lot of money. I can't, do better than my parents. I can't, lose weight. I can't find the right person for me, et cetera, right? How many assumptions do we have that are negative or disempowering versus empowering, right? Now, what happens when you have this negative or disempowering assumption, or you could just say belief. It's just a belief. A belief that says, I can't lose weight. That's just a belief. Now, just because you believe it, does it make it true? Does the sun go around the earth? It looks like it does, actually. Yeah, it looks like it, but just because it looks like it doesn't make it true. You see? So we really have to challenge our assumptions and our beliefs, don't we? Mm-hmm. So that's the problem. Will Rogers had this great quote. He said, it's not what a man knows that gets him in trouble. It's what he knows that ain't so. And so the point is not that we don't know enough. It's that we think we know and what we're totally wrong, So what we have to do is using this process is really question our beliefs, question our assumptions, and then actually replace the disempowering assumptions that you're making with positive assumptions. Let me give you an example of this. So another one of my clients, his name's Brandon, and he went, he came to us. He had spent over $35,000 on all these different programs, and again, self-help, personal growth, etc. And he was really stuck. And he was an insurance salesman, and he was making about $1,500 a month in commissions. $1,500 a month. Now, that's not a lot of money. Let's just be clear. That's not a lot of money, right? That's not very good. And he, even admits this. He's like, I was really frustrated because I'd spent all this money and I'm struggling. I was struggling. And so he came to us and he heard one of my interviews, or actually I think it was a friend told him about me. And, he actually, purchased this program. Long story short, he started using this teaching, and within the first 6 months, his sales tripled. They actually tripled in the first 6 months. By the end of the year, his income had increased over 560% from the previous year, and he was actually named Agent of the Year. And, all of that happened in less than a year because he, followed the formula. He challenged his assumptions, and, he just followed the program.
That is amazing. So what exactly did he do? What was the empowering question?
Well, that's what I teach you in the program. So I teach you, more important than the question is how to form these questions. So I can let me give you an example of a question, okay? And then, in the program, what I do is I show you the process of how you can actually create questions for your specific situation. Everybody's a little bit different. Some people want to make more money, of course most people do. But some people want to do it by growing their business or getting a raise in their career, for example, or, losing weight, attracting the right spouse or partner. We've had people do all of these and more. So, but just a specific question. So let's go back to the affirmation. So the statement or affirmation is, I am rich, right? That's what you want to believe. I am rich. And your brain says, yeah, right. Okay? So what would, and this is what I, discovered back in the shower back in 1997, I said, well, if that's the statement, what would an empowering question be? And I realized the question is, why am I so rich? Why am I so rich? Now, I want everybody to write that down right now and ask that question, why am I so rich? And notice what's happening in your brain. So, Daniel, when you ask the question, why am I so rich, what happens in your brain?
It started giving me answers. I have great relationships.
Exactly. Now, notice it actually changes the physiology of your mind-body. Mm-hmm. Because as most of the people listening to this program know, the mind and body are one. We think they're separate, most people. But, the average person thinks they're separate. The mind and body, no, we know they're one. Okay, and there are videos on YouTube. You can go on YouTube and look at this. I've done muscle testing experiments where I had people do affirmations, really empowering great statements that they, and I muscle tested them, and they were totally weak. In other words, they totally didn't believe it. I am rich. I can be very wealthy. No way. They didn't believe it. They said it. They said it, but to their brain body, it's a lie, right? Then I had them do affirmations using this method that I teach in the program. I literally had them do it right on the spot, instantly, in literally less than 1 second, and they become strong. It is astonishing to see this demonstration in person or on video. So, it's just incredible. So when you form these empowering questions, and by the way, that's why I called this. I discovered and I named this process affirmations. Now, I mentioned earlier that I was, really a nerd in high school, a geek. And as a geek, one of my favorite subjects was Latin, right? I didn't have shoulder length hair. I had shoulder width hair. That's really nerd, yeah. So anyway, I love Latin. That's just one of my favorite things. And the word affirmation that we're used to, the one we've been taught for 100 years, comes from the Latin word firmare, which means to make firm. Now, the word affirmations that I invented, and by the way, it's perfectly legitimate to invent a new word, right? When you have a new way of looking at the universe or new technology, we often need a new word to describe it, like iPad, iPhone, DVD, software, Internet. These are all very new terms, right? In terms of human history, they've only been around for a few years. But yet somebody invented a new technology or a new way of looking at the universe, and so we had a new word. Well, the word affirmations, which is, I happen to invent that word, comes from the Latin word formare, F-O-R-M-A-R-E, which means to form or give shape to. So the question that I often ask my coaching clients, my seminar audiences around the world, is I say, what if you're making something firm, but it's in the wrong form? That means you just created a life you don't want, right? Why am I so broke? Why am I so fat? Why can't I lose weight? Why can't I meet the right person for me? You formed it, and now it's firm, and there's your life. Well, now with affirmations, for the very first time with this program, you can take conscious control of the questions you're asking, change the questions, and now finally, directly and immediately change your life.
So I want to get to the word unstuck, what you mean by getting unstuck, and how someone can do that in just 5 minutes a day.
Well, absolutely. The number one frustration that of people that I work with a lot of entrepreneurs, as I mentioned, CEOs, executives, stay-at-home moms, working moms, working dads, etc. The number one frustration is that they feel stuck. So what does stuck really mean? Well, basically, there are 4 areas that people can be stuck in, and that is time, energy, relationships, and money. Okay? In other words, time stuck means I don't have the time to do the things that I want. Energy stuck means I don't have the energy to do the things I want. I'm exhausted at the end of the day, etc. Relationship stuck means I don't have the right people in place to grow my business or do the things that I want to do. And money stuck, naturally, is I just don't have the money to do the things that I want to do. So the good news about all these is that those are just symptoms. See, if you're saying I don't have the time, the energy, the relationships, or the money, those are all symptoms. It's like when you go to the doctor and you say, doctor, my knee hurts. What is he going to do? He's going to look at it and go, okay, well, let's look at what's causing it. You do an X-ray or, he does whatever tests or whatever. Well, that's the point. The pain is a symptom. The pain is just the outward expression of that, the lack of time, energy, relationships, and money. So once you understand what's causing the symptoms and how to fix them, you can actually get unstuck very, very quickly, much quicker than you think, and do things like, I've shared with you. I mean, we have just hundreds, thousands of success stories of people who literally, like I just got an email the other day from a business owner in Maine, Georgina, and she told me that she went from zero, absolute nothing, just starting her business and using these strategies. She went to 6 figures in 4 months, over $100,000, 6-figure business in 4 months from a dead, stop, nothing. So the point is that using affirmations, that I teach in the program, it really is, you can do it in less than 5 minutes a day. One of the things, by the way, that I do give you in this program is something called I-Affirm audios. Now, I-Affirm audios, have you ever used the hypnosis CD? Have you ever used something like that?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, what hypnosis, the typical or traditional hypnosis CD is using, of course, the traditional method, which is affirmations. I am happy. I am rich. I can do it. I believe in myself. And meanwhile, your brain's going, no, you're not. No, you're not. No, you can't. right? So again, you're fighting the brain, right? With affirmations, you don't fight the brain anymore. Imagine if you were on a PC and somebody gave you Apple software, Macintosh software, and that's how, you'd be fighting a lot. I mean, it might work a little bit, but it's really a fight, isn't it? I think we've all experienced something like that. So imagine if you just had a Mac with a Mac software. Wouldn't that just make sense? So that's what it is. Again, we were just told the wrong thing. We were told by well-meaning people. They didn't mean to do it meanly. It wasn't a vast conspiracy. It's just that there are certain people that affirmations actually do work for. If you ask Donald Trump to say, I am rich, you go, yeah, no kidding, I'm rich. You see? So if you already believe it, then you're fine. But guess what? That misses the entire point, because most of us don't believe we're rich. Most of us don't believe we can do it. Most of us don't believe in ourselves. So I'm here trying to believe in myself. Meanwhile, I'm using a chainsaw to put the nail in the wall. So what I do, with this is I just give you a hammer. So with iForm Audios, it's the hammer. It's the hammer to put in the nail. So literally, instead of using software that doesn't work, we just use your brain's actual software, which is questions. So these are empowering questions set to inspiring music. In fact, Daniel, this is absolutely true. I'm literally listening to my iForm Audios right now while I'm talking to you. At the same moment I'm talking to you, I can listen to the software. Now, I don't have to sit there because, see, I realize that people are busy. People come to me all the time, no, I'm so busy. I can't sit there for an hour and stare at my navel, or watch videos or whatever. I mean, I don't have time. I understand that. So that's why I designed iForm Audios, which are just MP3 audios. You can download them. I mean, you can literally be listening to them in less than 5 minutes for 5 minutes a day, and it reprograms your subconscious thought patterns. It reprograms your disempowering assumptions to empowering assumptions, that you can do it, you can lose weight, you can make more money, you can do it. But it's not fighting your brain, it's using your brain. There's really nothing like this out there on the market.
I love it. Noah, we have about 10 minutes left today. What exercise would be best for us to share with our listeners at this time? You have something we can share with them?
Yeah, you should do 50 push-ups. No, I'm kidding.
Well, I got the 10 the other day. I'd be in trouble.
That was too easy. Okay, so let me talk about this thing called energy. All right, because I mentioned there's time, energy, relationship to money. Yep. I know that a lot of people, energy is very important, and one of the things I tell people all the time is that energy is infinite, but our experience of energy is finite. Okay, we learned that in high school, that everything is energy and energy is infinite. However, our experience of energy is finite. In other words, we do only have a finite amount of energy every day. That's just the way it is, okay? So if you feel exhausted at the end of the day, you just don't have the energy, and if you ever wish that you had just a simple to-do list, okay, that's what I give you. I literally just give you the to-do list. Just follow the steps. It's step, step, step. So let me just give you an example, a sample step, okay, from the program. So when I was $35,000 in debt working out of my parents' basement, naturally I was very depressed, right? I mean, that's not exactly, I wasn't exactly a chick magnet at that moment, So I realized that, I had gotten into that situation because of wrong thinking, because I was assuming things, because I was coming from fear. I was coming from not enough. I was coming from fear instead of love. I was coming from not enough instead of enough. And so I realized that I had to change. I had to change my thinking and I had to change my behavior, because that's all we can really control. So I decided, even in the midst of that lousy situation that I hated, I decided to thank God for the gifts of my life and focus my brain, focus my thoughts on what I had. Well, let's see. I have health. I have clothing. I have eyesight. I have a brain. I have 10 fingers. I have 10 toes. I have legs. I have a telephone. I have a computer. I have internet. And I just started listing them. Now, people might say, okay, well, that's really lame. Yeah, is it lame? Okay. There's many people out there that don't have those things that I just listed.
That's right.
Millions of people. So, I mean, I know lots and lots of rich people who don't have their health, who would pay any money to have eyesight or good health or the right spouse. Anything. So, and by the way, I did not have a spouse at that time. I met her later, but you see my point. I decided to, in the face of all this, stuff I didn't like, to focus on what I had. long story short, within 24 months of doing that and doing the other steps of this program, all of those great things happened to me that I talked about earlier. I had a 6-figure book deal from one of the world's largest publishers. I had speaking engagements all around the world. I, became a best-selling author, and I did, in fact, meet the perfect woman for me. I did meet just the perfect woman for me, who is now my wife. So the point is, most people focus on what they don't have. And when you do that, that will always sap your energy. So I literally just, again, I just tell you, listen, go ahead and focus on what you have. And don't listen to your brain when it says it's not enough. There will always be a guy in there saying it's not enough. Just tell him, to
shut
go
up.
away, take a nap. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you for sharing. You can go to bed now.
Let's go take a hike, buddy.
I love it. No, I'm curious about what's possible for the people who are listening here today. Can you take a few minutes and share more of some of the amazing turnarounds you've seen from people who have applied what you teach? I know you've shared some wonderful stories already. Do you have a couple more you might want to share with us?
Oh, my God. Well, we literally do have thousands. Just real quick, I'll give you an example. Tim Taylor is one of our clients. He came to us, and, he wanted to do something more with his life. He had actually made a lot of money, but he was not happy. So, again, you can be making a lot of money and still be stuck, still be not happy, still be doing, things that you don't want to be doing. So, he came to us, and yes, he knew how to make money, but he didn't know how to have that rich life. I call it filling your soul and your bank account. That's what I want you. I want you to design a life, a lifestyle that fills your soul and your bank account. So he actually, again, long story short, he took the course. He, did everything that I suggested that he do. He made an additional $525,000 in literally less than a year. And
wow.
The great thing is it was doing what he loves. And he actually called me from Mexico. He was on a vacation to Mexico. He says, Noah, I can't wait to get back to the office because I love what I do so much. And he said, I've never felt this way before about anything I've done. So it's so exciting. Just another story, Sheila Valles, who's a direct sales professional. She was in direct selling. She had spent about $30,000 in every program. She was making about $5,000 a month in sales. And she was actually at one of our seminars, and she heard me speak, and she was kind of hemming and hawing should I get this program. Her husband was there, literally saw that she was hesitating, took out his American Express, threw it down on the table and says, you're getting this. This is awesome. This is different. You got to get this. So long story short, within 6 months of doing this program, she was at $5,000 a month. 6 months later, her sales were $75,000 in 1 month.
Wow.
75 from 5,000 to 75,000. And literally, she told me, she said, Noah, that the money's great and it's wonderful, but I'm actually working less to make 75,000 than I was to make 5,000. So that's in a month. Most people don't do that in a year. So we just have so many awesome stories like this. And
I get it. Yeah, you bet. I get really excited about helping people take control of their life, and there's so much more to learn from Noah that I've asked him to create a special offer for everyone who's listening to this call. And I want to highly encourage you to go to Noah's special offer right now and experience it for yourself. So you want to go to www.awakeningtoabundance.com/Noah, and that's Noah. Noah, can you let everyone know what they'll find there?
Yes, this is the program that's called Affirmations, the missing piece to having abundance. So it literally is my step-by-step formula to attract more money using your subconscious mind, not fighting your mind like you've been trained to do, but using your mind. So it's an awesome program. It's all delivered digitally. There's nothing to ship. You can be literally listening to this in the next 5 minutes. So you just get a username and password. You go to our online members. We have literally thousands of members in over 50 countries. So I'm going to give you complete and in-depth details on the affirmations method, exactly step-by-step the technique that, I've taught my $10,000 clients. You can literally do this in 5 minutes a day and change your life, just like the stories that I've shared with you. You also get the Complete Affirmations Guidebook, which is a printable PDF. You can print it out. You can read it. It's the 4 Steps to Wealth system. Also, my Attract More Money Iaform audio. I was talking about Iaform audios before. So literally, instead of taking the hypnosis CDs, again, nothing wrong with them, but these do the same thing with one big difference. Instead of fighting your subconscious mind, you are going to actually inject or these audios inject money-attracting thoughts directly into your subconscious mind and destroying the money-killing thoughts. Most people have money-killing thoughts that are stopping them from having money. You can listen to this anytime, anywhere. Many of my clients use this while they're exercising, sleeping. You can be writing your emails. You can be watching TV. You can be sleeping and listening to these. People tell me that all the time. Also, I have a video on removing your financial head trash. What's stopping you from having more money right now? We have a video on that. A report called Overcoming the Fear of Rejection. That's a huge thing that's stopping so many people. Also, a special report on the power of empowering questions. I can't believe how much stuff we put in here, Daniel. Wow. You're really very persuasive, aren't you?
Keep going.
I mean, this is awesome. This is amazing. I can't believe we're only charging. What are we charging for this? This is incredible. I mean, this is hundreds of dollars worth of information in here. I can't believe this.
What are some of the benefits?
There's more.
Oh, there's still more.
Yeah, well, you can read it on the page. I'm like, wow, this is
right.
amazing. And we've got more bonus too.
What are some of the benefits that people can experience, will expect to experience?
Well, I mean, everything that we've talked about, I really also want to talk about who this is for. This really is for a home-based entrepreneur who's passionate about personal growth. If you spent a ton of money on all these personal growth or money-making seminars, DVDs, and programs, and you're just not making the money that you want, if you're in network marketing or direct selling and you want more recruits, if you want to dump your head trash around making a lot more money. And listen, if you want to learn the techniques I taught my $10,000 clients, I've got coaching clients pay me $10,000 and up who I've taught this same information to. I mean, and you don't have to pay me $10,000. That is a pretty amazing, it's an amazing deal.
I love it. I love it. Noah, any final thoughts you'd like to share with everyone before we go?
Yeah, I have 5 words that I want to share with everybody, Daniel, that have changed my life, and hopefully they'll change the lives of some of the people listening too, and that is give yourself permission to succeed. Give yourself permission to succeed. When you give yourself permission, many people won't take advantage of this because they won't take action because they feel they don't deserve it or they've tried everything else before, like Sheila I was talking about earlier. Luckily her husband was there, so hopefully you'll just be that person for yourself who believes in you enough to do it. Give yourself that permission to succeed, because when you give yourself permission to succeed, you actually give others around you that permission, and that's how we're going to change the world.
I love it. I love it. So, folks, go to www.awakeningtoabundance.com/Noah, and that's Noah. Thank you so much for being with us today, Noah. I appreciate you, and I look forward to our next call together.
Thanks, Daniel. Me too. It was a pleasure.
Our next call together.
Thanks, Daniel. Me too. It was a pleasure.
Our next call together.
Thanks, Daniel. Me too. It was a pleasure.
Our next call together.
Thanks, Daniel. Me too. It was a pleasure.
Our next call together.
Thanks, Daniel. Me too. It was a pleasure.
Our next call together.
Thanks, Daniel. Me too. It was a pleasure.
Our next call together.